The Orthodox Jews, they perform certain physical actions, physical and only physical, because Judaism, the so-called, for the masses, religion, it closed people inside it, in our world, so they won't try to climb out, for them not to grow through. And thus, in the framework of this world, it gave people to perform different actions as if spiritual, but those actions, they give no sprouts because they aren't aimed at bonding, love towards others, developing with the help of Kabbalah, drawing from above the upper light so it will shine from above into your world. And thus, these actions are not alive, they're dead. And thus, all people in this world, including the Orthodox Jews, spiritually are dead. But the actions they perform, why are they the way they are, putting on different things, and that's something else. Their actions, only the mechanical actions, are in correspondence to the spiritual actions, but these are mechanical actions. They mean nothing. If I perform them mindlessly because that's how I was taught to do it, or in order for me to have a reward in this world or the next world, then these actions, they give no spiritual result. I simply realize them and I feel good as a result. And I hope that I'll have some kind of a reward. I'll feel good here, I'll feel good there. And I'll also feel better compared to others. Others don't know it, I do know, and I do it, and so on. Like in any religion, a person feels himself higher than others. Everyone is very proudful about it. Each religion considers itself higher and more truthful than the others, and so on. Well, the egoism, that's how it works in each and every one. Besides Kabbalah, everything else is based on egoism. Kabbalah, it's the greatest egoism, or that corrects other religions. They don't engage in that. Does Kabbalah turn someone against someone else? Does it consider a person to be corrected only because he studies Kabbalah? It develops the ego inside a person. What does it mean? It constantly shows to him how egoistic he is, reveals the ego in him. And all the other religions, on the contrary, they conceal, they hide the egoism. They say, you're already righteous, you're great, that's it. You put on the tefillin, you crossed yourself, you smeared something on yourself, that's it. You don't need anything else. You can spit on everyone. You're the holiest, wait for a reward. But eventually, when a person will come to understand the spiritual actions, will he have to perform the external actions? What for? What's the point? No point. Well, previously, Kabbalists did perform those actions, not in order to perform spiritual actions whatsoever. It's because during the exile that these people went through, they performed these actions because they were corresponding spiritual, and those actions in this world kept this nation in their framework when the people were completely disconnected from the spiritual, and thus there was a need to hold them in a certain framework. Thus, those very Kabbalists, they gave the people this system of different actions in our world, the so-called customs, and this system rooted among the people and was used for 2,000 years. And from this system was born Christianity, and a few centuries later, Islam. Why are they so offended that they were not born on their own. Suppose the Christians don't want to say that they have something to do with Judaism. No, incorrect. Maybe that's how the people understand it. But all these three religions, they're called Abrahamic religions. They all came from Abraham. And that's how they're called. They all come from one root. What do you mean? No, nothing of the kind. Only each one of them claims that it's the truth and the others aren't, that it comes in exchange instead of Judaism. Judaism says that it's the only true religion, and Christianity, with all their different versions, and each one of the version claims that they're the only truth, and of course the Islam claims too, and that's how they fight between themselves quietly. But the Kabbalists, before religions appeared, how did they perform their inner work? Was there any kind of external expression to it? Or, yes, there was an external expression, but because innerly they were on that level, thus externally, both on this level, they had such actions as natural actions, and there were such that they did not perform. Suppose before, how to put it, before coming out of Egypt, the exodus from Egypt, there were no physical actions whatsoever besides circumcision. Circumcision, it comes from Abraham. Besides circumcision, there were no other actions. Abraham circumcised Ismail, from whom the Arabs took circumcision, and when Isaac was born, the same. So only circumcision, well, it comes from Tzimtzum Bet, the second restriction. It comes from there, meaning it's impossible to give birth to the smallest spiritual degree if you don't cut that egoism off yourself and you remain in those desires with which you can advance. And this is a natural law. And afterwards, the law of the three lines, but in our world, it has no, there's no such particular action in our world. Besides, no, actually there is nothing, only circumcision, because all the rest of the laws, they were given on the so-called Mount Sinai at the next ascension, after the exodus from Egypt, and all the laws prior to this, meaning those that are realized by a person on the next level, they exist before too, and they were known to Abraham and to all the others, and they kept them in a minimum fashion. Minimum because the temple didn't exist, and there were lacking different opportunities to express these laws in their corporeal fashion. And those attributes that had to be expressed, they did, because when a person lives in both worlds, for him it's one world. There aren't two worlds for him. He can't be here this way and be there that way. The whole of creation for him is one. And thus, it all kind of happens in him simultaneously. I don't know how to put it, but it's all simultaneous. You have to play with, I don't have to play. I do whatever is necessary for the dissemination of the wisdom of Kabbalah. I'm not playing anything. Well, I mean, and besides, by the way, Bala Sulam writes, he puts it very simply. He says that in our times, when everyone must transcend into the attribute of love and bestowal towards each other, all these actions have no meaning. Each one can remain in his religion, meaning in his customs. One can kiss the cross, someone else smears something, another one can put on the tefillin. Doesn't matter who does what. These external actions, they don't matter. The main thing is that a man's heart thrives for the common connection, mutual unification, and all these actions, they're merely habits, a culture. It's on the level of a culture. You became accustomed to your mother's cooking, and you love it. Same here. If you like it, if that's how you were brought up, please, go ahead. Doesn't disturb anyone. If your body, as if it became a second nature for it and it demands that, please go ahead. Doesn't matter.